wanted to look forward before I look backward, because I heard next year you have a new album coming out with Claypool Lennon Delirium.
Yes, thank you for noticing.
I'm excited
Appreciate
because I love the last one.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, Les Claypool and I, Les from Primus, we have a band called the Claypool Lennon Delirium, which is kind of a whimsical prog rock experimental psych band. It's fun, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. And we have a new album coming out sometime early next year, I think.
Yeah.
And it's called The Great Parrot Ox and the Golden Egg of Empathy.
That's a great title.
Yeah.
There's a photograph of the two of you. It looks like you're out in the desert somewhere with like crazy hats and boulders. It's one of my favorite pictures.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with him because Les is a great musician, but he's also really funny. So we can play around.
Yeah. What was the inspiration for that combination?
Well, I toured with him with Primus with my other band, the Ghost.
Ghost, yeah.
And yeah, we just got along really well. And Charlotte and I, my partner and bandmate, were kind of like struggling a little bit with having a band at a relationship.
Yeah.
And Les and I were getting along so well, so we just thought, why don't we start a band? And it kind of worked out. And it also really helped my relationship with Charlotte, to be honest.
Did it?
Well, because working and being in love is hard.
Yes. Well,
so luckily, Les and I can
because there's no
have
getting
a
away from each other.
platonic work relationship.
Yeah, that's funny. How did you decide what kind of sound you wanted for that for your union?
Well, I've always been a fan of Primus,
and
he seemed to love the Ghost, so it was kind of felt like a merger of those two worlds. He liked what we were doing with the Ghost, which was a kind of neo-psychedelic. I hate putting things in boxes.
Yes, yes.
You know, can't put it in a box. But if I had to, I'd say the Ghost was kind of psych, and he's sort of very idiosyncratic. He's his own thing. He's invented his own quirky universe. And
which you kind of have too.
Yeah, we found something together which I think is greater than the sum of its parts kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I really enjoy it. And we have a pretty cool fan base, and we're going on tour in July, so yeah, I'm really excited. And this is our first double album, by the way. It's a big deal. And it's a concept album too.
Yeah.
It's actually about the paperclip dilemma. Have you heard of what that is?
Yeah.
The paperclip dilemma is something in computer science.
Yeah.
The idea is with AI or some highly advanced computer system, if you gave it the job of making as many paper clips as possible, most efficiently as possible, it could wind up, going out of control and turning the entire Earth into paper clips. Maybe like, melting human beings into paper clips, and you couldn't stop it because it would be too powerful. So the idea is, you have to be careful how we program these devices. So it's based on that. It's kind of like a literal interpretation of what if that actually happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
What brought you to making a film of War Is Over?
Well, at first I was asked if I might help come up with an idea for a music video for the song Happy Christmas, War Is Over.
Yeah.
And I did actually try to do that for a while. I took submissions from directors like Treatments and stuff, and I in fact was trying to think of an idea myself, and nothing was really sticking. I just felt like I'd heard the song so many times, and I think many people have heard that song many times. I mean, it's sort of a perennial Christmas classic, that I didn't know if I would be interested in just seeing the song play with some visuals. So I thought, well, what if we actually made a short film that was more like a story, and then we drop the song in as a score, kind of like the way you would in a film.
Right.
And I thought about in a Scorsese film, he drops a Rolling Stones song, and you know the song, but suddenly it sounds new, because you're so excited. There's a new context for it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if I could get that feeling of maybe it sounds like you're hearing it again for the first time, or at least in a new context, in a way that you'd pay attention.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh, there it is on the radio again.
Yeah.
So that was the idea, and it went from there.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get to a story idea for the film?
That actually happened really fast. So I call my friend Adam Gates, who is an animator at Pixar, and he has a band called, this is a lot of lore, there's a lot of backstory, but he has a band called Beanpole.
Yeah.
Band called Beanpole. That's really great, by the way. I put him out on my record label. And so we became friends, but he's a Pixar guy.
Yeah.
So I said, Adam, you think you could do an animation with me? And he goes, well, I can, because I'm with Pixar. But my friend Dave Mullins just left Pixar.
Yeah.
Check him out. So Dave did a film called Lou, L-O-U.
Yeah.
That's got an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah.
It's a short. And I watched it and I was just like, man, this film is so good.
Yeah.
So I called Dave Mullins. Dave and I had a Zoom, and in our first hour of conversation, we came up with the whole outline.
Yeah.
So then I knew that I wanted to work with him because I liked his film. He's super talented, but we also had this kind of creative connection. So we came up with this idea that two soldiers would be playing chess on opposite sides of a war, and that there would be an animal helping them. At first we thought maybe it could be a dog or something, but then I actually have this very deep love for birds.
Yeah.
And I'd also read an article that there were sort of heroic messenger pigeons from World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
There's some monuments to pigeons who had sort of survived and got a message out even though they were wounded. So I just was so touched by that story. We're always like, lauding the human heroes, but I thought it was really sweet to also acknowledge the pigeons. So then I thought, well, let's make it a pigeon, and that was it. We had the whole idea at that point, and then it was just tweaking it and refining it.
What's the significance of it being a chess match?
Well, I love chess. I'm not a great chess player, but I really love playing.
Yeah.
And my mother is a real chess enthusiast too. My dad played chess as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a chess family. I grew up with lots of chess boards around. And my mother also has an art piece called Played by Trust.
Yeah.
Which I've always loved. In fact, we have one at our house in the country. And it's a big white chessboard that only has white squares. And all the pieces are white. Yeah. So the idea is played by trust, meaning you can't really fight if we see each other as the same color.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an exception to that because obviously someone like Magnus Carlsen can just play in his head. But if you're a normal chess player, you can't play without colors.
Yeah.
And it's a piece. It's a conceptual piece. Piece about peace.
Yeah.
You
said in one interview that I read, you said that in a lot of ways this movie was really a tribute to your mom.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to do chess as a theme because I really love her artwork about peace, the Play by Trust piece. Yeah. And so I thought it was like a nice nod to her art and her love of the game.
Yeah.
And so that's where we started. And we actually used a real chess match because this was Dave's idea, but he wanted the last move to be going from being in check to checkmating in one move, which is very rare in chess.
Yeah.
It never happens. So he had to find a real game in history that had done that, and he talked with a chess master, and there was a lot of backstory to that. So for all the chess nerds out there, you can watch the film and see that there's real chess behind it.
Yeah. You put it up on YouTube so everyone can see it.
We did. So we got the Oscar for the short last year, and we were thinking of trying to stream it on some streaming service. But honestly, in the end, we just felt the best thing would be to just put it out on YouTube. It's on the John Lennon channel, and let everyone see it for free. And we're also trying to raise money for a charity called War Child.
Oh yeah.
Which is a really great charity that focuses on kids and children who are affected by war and families with children who are affected by war. And we just thought that was a great partnership because, we're trying to get the message to young people ultimately that, we can strive towards a less violent world.
You mentioned the Oscar. How did it feel to get an Oscar?
Honestly, it was really surreal.
Yeah.
It was disorienting. I really didn't. I didn't expect that we were going to ever get nominated. So by the time I was on stage, and it just seemed like I was in a dream state. It was really fun, actually.
Yeah.
And luckily, our award was one of the earliest awards in the evening.
Yeah.
So we got it out of the way really quick, and then I could just have fun.
Yeah.
So the rest of the night was really great, but the whole kind of anticipation and the being on stage was a little scary.
Yeah.
It felt like a Miss Universe pageant or something, and I had won, and I was just standing there kind of crying.
You've been on stage before, though. I mean, I guess it's not quite like that, but
yeah, I'm on stage a lot, but usually people are like throwing banana peels at me. This was different. They seemed to be supportive. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
Something I'll never forget.
Yeah, and probably something you didn't at all expect.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've never really made a film, let alone get an Oscar nomination. It wasn't something that we were looking to do. But I did know that the film had something really special at its core.
Yeah.
When I first read the outline of the story to my girlfriend, Charlotte,
Yeah.
she got teary-eyed. She got choked up.
Yeah.
And she's one of those people who's just cold as ice. I mean, we could watch a movie and I'll be weeping hysterically and she's just looking at me.
What's your problem?
Like, yeah, what's wrong with you, you wimp? But I read her this outline and she got choked up, and that's when I knew
Yeah.
that there was something special in the story.
Yeah.
So I did have a feeling that there was something really good about it. And in fact, the enthusiasm from other people who helped us finish the film
Yeah.
was another indication that there was something good in the script.
Yeah. You're effectively the custodian of your dad's legacy now.
Yeah, technically, but obviously the world is also the custodian of his legacy, I would say.
Yeah.
And I try not to think of it too seriously in that way, because I don't want to make too big a deal out of it, like it's up to me. I mean, the music is timeless and it speaks for itself,
Yeah.
I'm just doing my best to help make sure that the younger generation doesn't forget about the Beatles and John and Yoko.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
think that's even possible?
to forget about it?
Yeah.
I do, actually, and I never did before. I mean, recently, I don't know if you saw, there was a viral kind of video clip of Ringo walking through someone's stream.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation was, but this young guy was like, "Who is that?" And his stream was saying, "You don't know who that is?
Yeah.
That's Beatle Ringo." And he was like, "I don't know who Beatle Ringo is." Some people don't know.
Yeah.
And, for example, when I was young, they used to teach Shakespeare in every high school,
Yeah.
because Shakespeare is an important part of our culture and we don't want to forget.
Yeah.
And if you stop teaching Shakespeare in schools,
Yeah.
they probably won't remember. So I do think, humanity creates pieces of culture and art that are important and shouldn't be forgotten.
Yeah.
And I just think of it in those terms. I think the Beatles' music and John and Yoko's legacy is something important for the world to kind of cherish and be reminded of.
Yeah.
So that's how I see my job.
Yeah. I mean, culture does. It's funny because I was talking to Paul Simon about this last year. We were doing a story with him about his hearing and stuff. And I asked him, I said, "Do you think about legacy?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because," he said, "culture always moves on, and it'll take what it wants, and it'll throw the rest of it on the road." And he said, "You can get upset about it, but you're not going to change it." And I just thought it was an interesting thing, to hear what the artists themselves thought about, what happens to all this stuff. And and he's also pretty blunt about what he thought has aged well and what hasn't, and but it's such an interesting idea. And culture is pretty ruthless.
Yeah, but I do think that we used to care a lot about, funding the opera houses and funding the ballets and making sure that, these older traditions, were maintained and studied and understood. And I do think if you don't work on it, it's easier for those things to fade away. But Paul Simon, honestly, he's one of the smartest musicians I've ever met.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest songwriters, obviously, and producers. He has a very intelligent way of looking at music and art. So, I think what he's saying is just philosophically true. It's to me, it's almost like it's about detachment. The reality is, we're all only here temporarily, so you can only get attached to things so much.
Yeah.
But I think from my perspective, my parents gave me so much that I think it's the least I can do to try and support their legacy
Yeah.
in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I feel like I just owe it to them. It's a personal thing.
In your view, what is their legacy?
Yeah, well, that's a tough thing to have to summarize on the spot.
In your heart, what is it?
Yeah, I think I can say what I think one of the most significant and relevant aspects of their legacy is to me today.
Yeah.
And that's peace and love.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not just peace and love. It's an attitude towards activism that is done with humor and love.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important because I see a lot of rightfully, energized young activists, today, and amazingly, young people are more politically conscious than they were when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I feel that there is a level of humor and love missing from a lot of the activity that I see. Yeah. And I think, that was even unique for John and Yoko in the 70s. There were a lot of very angry radicals at the time as well. But I just think my father said something about that you can't use violence against the man because the man understands the language of violence. Yeah. And they will try to get you to be violent because once you become violent, they know how to deal with you. Yeah. But what they don't know how to deal with is love and humor. Yeah. And I just think that that's really profound. And I think it's true. Yeah. And so I think that part of their legacy is incredibly important and something that I hope to convey to the younger generations.
Yeah. The One-to-One Project, which what was the genesis of bringing that all back?
Okay, well, at first we just wanted to do a film about my parents' last concert at Madison Square Garden, which was called One-to-One. Yeah. And I would have been happy with a concert movie. Yeah. But the director, Kevin MacDonald, and his team, once they were looking through the archives, they found these phone calls that my parents had recorded of themselves, which interestingly was a response to the FBI tapping their phones. Yeah. So they thought, well, we need to tap our own phones because if they try to say we said something that we didn't say, we'll have our own record of it. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing that actually happened. Yeah. So we had hours of them just chatting on the phone to their friends, to their assistants, to each other. And when Kevin MacDonald found those recordings, he thought, I think there's more to this film than just the concert. There's a film that uses the concert as a lens through which we can see their lives moving to New York and their political activism. And then also I would say, what was happening in America and generally, in Europe as well.
How many hours of recordings are there of that stuff?
Of the phone calls, I think there's hours. Yeah. I'm not sure. I didn't go through all the raw stuff because actually, when Kevin said, "Oh, we should use these private phone calls for the film," I kind of didn't really understand where he was coming from, to be honest.
You didn't know they existed?
I didn't really know they existed. I thought there might be some stuff. I mean, we had tapes. Yeah. But it's not the kind of thing I wanted to listen to. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it just seemed like it might be creepy. I didn't know if it would. I didn't understand. Yeah. I didn't see the vision, and Kevin is a really brilliant filmmaker. Yeah. So he understood what we had, and it's because of him that the film is that interesting. To be honest. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is, if it were up to me, the film would have been a plain old concert footage documentary. Yeah. Yeah. And it turned into something much more interesting. And to speak to what I was saying before about love and humor being these potent, tools for spreading your message, I really think the film One-to-One, you can see that. Yeah. Because even when, first of all, my parents are always being funny and they're always laughing. They're always having a good time. They're always joking around. And even when he's at court, my dad and mom, because they're trying to deport him from the country, which is ridiculous, trying to deport John Lennon from the country, he's so sweet and has a good humor about him. And I just think it's really nice and it's powerful. I think there's something, I feel like there's strength in rising above it and conducting yourself without taking yourself too seriously. Yeah.
What do you see when all of that stuff comes out and gets brought to the surface? I mean, in terms
meaning what's it like for me?
No. I mean, do you see something you maybe didn't see before, or have you seen it all before?
No, honestly, I hadn't seen all of the home video footage in one-to-one. I hadn't heard those phone recordings before.
Yeah.
And they, personally, that stuff means a lot to me.
Yeah.
For example, the Get Back film that Peter Jackson did,
Yeah.
there were hours and hours of unused footage from the Let It Be film. And, for me, it's like getting more moments to spend with my dad. So it means a lot.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with, a limited number of video clips, a limited number of film clips, and a limited number of photographs that pretty much everyone has seen. And so it's almost like when I find something new that I haven't heard before or haven't seen before, I feel like I'm gaining a little moment to be with him. So actually for me, on a personal level, it just really means a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think the one-to-one process of making that film was personally really nice for me, just, on a family level.
Yeah. You also produced all the music, the remastering of all the music, which actually, it sounds great.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's a really fun part for me, especially because it was a concert.
Yeah.
So I have worked on overseeing the remixes of my dad's recordings, and that's really interesting, but it's also really difficult because they were recorded really well.
Yeah.
So it's actually really hard to improve them. I think we managed to be honest, but the thing about the concert is it was kind of haphazard.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to improve it. So I really enjoyed that a lot, and I do think it sounds way better now.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just gives me a nice feeling that I get to contribute to making my dad's music sound better. It's a nice thing for me, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I would think in some ways, dealing with all of this, as I said, being the custodian of all this, I mean, that can be a pretty heavy thing in some ways, if you want it to be.
Yeah, I do think so. The reality is, it doesn't really feel heavy to me until people start getting upset about something that I've done.
Yeah.
Like the saxophone is too quiet on this mix, and then I realize, oh my God, all these people are so precious about every, song.
Yeah.
But I don't really think about it when I'm working on it. I think it's because I actually am a musician,
Yes.
by trade.
Yeah.
So for me to go and mix a song, I just get into work mode, and I just try to make it sound as good as possible.
Yeah.
It's once it comes out, I realize that I'm dealing with, a legacy that a lot of people have a lot of feelings about.
Yeah.
And but I also try not to get too caught up in those reactions as well, because you can't please everybody. And I can sleep well at night knowing that I've just done the best job that I can do according to my ears or whatever, it might be. And that's all I can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try not to let it weigh on me. For me, it actually feels more like a treat. It really does. It's like a treat to get to mix John Lennon songs, and on top of it, he's my dad. I love him so much. It feels like a gift.
Yeah.
That I'm at this time in my life,
Yeah.
that I'm given this opportunity to do it. I really enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work, It feels fun,
I'd forgotten that the concert was for Willowbrook, which I remember really well.
Yeah.
And that whole thing. Was the whole concert shot? Was it all, preserved somewhere?
Yeah, we've got the whole concert, and it's pretty remarkable that they raised, I think, $1 million.
Like $1.5 million, I think.
Yeah, over $1 million at the time, which, if you adjust for inflation, I'm sure is a lot more.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
and those things were pretty unusual then. Raising that kind of money was a big deal.
for sure. I mean, even today, raising over $1 million is a big deal. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing that they did. And, the tragic part is that it was clear from how my dad talked about that show and touring that he wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And he was going to do a lot more charity work as well, charity concerts. He wanted to raise money for, prisoners who needed help with their legal stuff.
Who couldn't afford bail.
Who couldn't afford bail, and he had a big plan for that. And, he sounded great, and his voice was arguably better than ever. I mean, it was different. I think he sounded amazing in a new way, in a more kind of raw and emotional way.
Yeah.
And it would have been really beautiful for those tours to happen. So it's pretty tragic, but I guess we just have to be lucky that we have that concert at all and that we recorded it, or that they recorded it.
Yeah.
Albeit not very well, but they recorded it.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty unusual to record stuff then. I mean, wasn't it?
I don't think so, actually.
No?
I'm always shocked how many concerts were recorded, considering that they had to roll around these big trucks with multi-track tape machines in them.
Yeah.
But they did. They did a lot of shows. You're right, it's less common than today.
Yeah.
But
well, it was so much more work then.
yes, and I mean, Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, they recorded big, huge albums out of vans. There were these portable studios that they would drive around. So that's how they would go to like some castle in the country and make a record. They just pull up this van or this bus essentially. And I mean, there were a lot of concerts that were recorded very well, but I think because the one-to-one concert was kind of a last-minute thing, or I guess maybe it wasn't last minute, but it wasn't on the heels of some well-oiled machine that tours all the time, with John and Yoko. So it was all put together just for that one-off.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, some of the mics might not have been working properly. And between the matinee and the evening show, there was a lot of chaos, So, we had a lot of work to do to clean everything up. But again, that's what made it more fun for me, was having a ceiling that I could, raise on the quality of everything.
Yeah. You can do so much now. It's kind of amazing.
It's a really great time for what we've been doing, working on 60s and 70s recordings with the modern technology is really fun. Yeah. It's the best time. Because there was a time when they remastered everything digitally in the 90s, and they were like, digitally remastered Jimi Hendrix or something, and it sounded terrible compared to the vinyl. But I don't think that's true anymore. Yeah. I think we've gotten to the point where we can arguably improve the sound quality.
Yeah. And it's an important concert because it's the only concert your parents did together, right?
I mean, they did some festival appearances and some charity appearances, but it's the only full-length concert. Certainly the only concert I think that he played a Beatles song too, Come Together, which he apparently wasn't going to do. Yeah. And they added it last minute because I think he was just in a good mood. Yeah. Yeah. So he was really enjoying the rehearsals and it was sounding great, and everyone obviously wanted him to do a Beatles song. Yeah. And he was just kind of like, I'm not going to do that. But last minute, Bob Gruen told me that he heard them rehearsing Come Together, and he was just like secretly very excited about it.
Yeah, Bob would know.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
It does. His voice sounds incredible.
Yeah. How's your mom doing, by the way?
She's good. I mean, she's 92, so she's slowed down a lot, and she's retired. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I'm kind of trying to do the work that she used to do. Yeah. And I think she did a really great job for a lot of years. Yeah. And so she deserves to kind of sit back. Yeah. And that's why I feel a lot of pressure actually to do my best, because she set a high standard for the way that she dealt with my dad's music and the Beatles stuff. Yeah.
Does she check up on you and what you're doing?
Well, she lives in upstate New York. Yeah. So I see her, half the year.
Right. But I mean, just in terms of, will she scrutinize all this or no?
No, she's not involved anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. She's not the kind of person who can share control. She's like my girlfriend. It's like either I do it or she does it, but we don't. It's hard to. They're independent ladies. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you got to admire that.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad asked my mom if she would be, his writing partner. Yeah. And she said, no, I work alone. Yeah. So they did eventually do Double Fantasy together. Right. But they wrote their songs separately. Yeah. And I think, that's just, she's a singular woman, and she's always been very singular. And I think my dad was less so. He had Paul to write with. Yeah. And then he was hoping that my mom would kind of be a writing partner. Yeah. And I just think it's really funny that, there's probably only one person in the world who would turn down John Lennon as a writing partner, and that's my mom. Yeah.
That's probably why you liked her.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly right. Yeah. That's probably the sexiest thing, is to not, buy into the kind of whatever, like, mythology of who he was. She just,
Yeah.
she was his equal
Yeah.
always. And I think that was very appealing to him.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
So you've got this new project next year. Musically, where are you going these days?
Well, I actually did, this sounds goofy in this context, but I did a jazz album.
You know what? I listened to this.
Thank
It's
you.
gorgeous.
Thank you.
I was like, I could put this on and just have it in the house all day.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that album is called Asterisms, and it's on a label called Tzadik, or Tzadik,
Yeah.
Tzadik.
Yeah.
And that label is run by a really brilliant guy who's a friend of mine, John Zorn,
Yeah.
who in the New York jazz scene, he's just a legend for his generation. And so for him to ask me to do an instrumental album on his label was a really big deal for me personally.
Wow.
And it was honestly, it's not a pop record, so it was maybe less noticed than some of my other work.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a monumental achievement, actually, because he's such a hero to me, and I grew up so influenced by his records. So for him to ask me to do a quote-unquote jazz, I mean, it's not really jazz, but it's an instrumental, experimental record.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for me.
Yeah.
So I felt actually very much like I'd sort of made it, actually.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a genre you'd wanted to work in, or was it just almost like he just put it on the table and you suddenly like, I'm going to do
No, I
this?
mean, John and I had actually worked together on lots of different projects over the years. I think it's because my mom is an experimental avant-garde,
Yeah.
wizardess, that I've always been interested in experimental music.
Yeah.
And John Zorn, he's known as a jazz guy, but he's very experimental and avant-garde. And so I played with him at this place called the Knitting Factory back in the day. I jammed there with Tonic, this other kind of experimental place.
Yeah.
And I do shows at the Stone, which is at the New School.
Yes.
And the Stone is his venue. So he kind of curates the music. So I've recorded with him and Laurie Anderson, people like that. Not the kind of music that's on pop radio, let's say. But still stuff that has really meant a lot to me over the years.
Yeah. And obviously music you want to make.
Yeah, I mean, look, I make no apologies. My mother's Yoko Ono. She used to make music with John Cage. So I like to do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that
Isn't that what an artist is supposed to be?
Sure, but I have nothing against someone who just plays blues music all day. But I'm lucky enough that I've had an exposure to lots of different things and a career that has allowed me to do whatever I want. So I have a lot of fun. I've worked on hip hop records. I've worked on psych records, and I've worked with John Zorn. So and I think I appreciate the fact that I'm in a position that I'm able to do that, and it's really fun.
Is it something you need to do in some way, do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I come from a family of artists, and I do think I was raised in a culture of believing that, expressing yourself artistically is essential to survival.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people don't see it that way, but that's how I was raised. So for me, it's just like as natural as anything else, breathing or eating or sleeping.
Yeah.
Making art is sort of a fundamental force in the physics of my life, I guess you could say.
Yeah. You did make a record recently with Zach Starkey and with
James McCartney.
Yes.
We do have a song that we've been working on together. And but no one's actually heard the song. I think a lot of people think they did, but they heard a tiny little Instagram clip. And hopefully, we'll finish it off and put it out.
Yeah.
And look, we're friends. I think people are surprised that the Beatles kids are so close. And I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I think there's an assumption that maybe because we're all Beatles kids that we'd have some kind of animosity or competitiveness or something, but that's just not the case. It's not the case between my brother and I. We're very close. Danny and I have always really loved each other, and I love James. I think he's a brilliant musician, And, you know, I've known him since we were kids. We jammed when he was 12 or something. You know, I was a little older.
Has anyone ever like offered you a gig to all play together?
Has anyone offered us a gig? You know, I'm sure we get a lot of offers to do like a Beatles remake or something. Sure. I think people ask for that a lot, but I do think that would be ridiculous. But the reason, you know, the reason Zach and James and I made a song together is not because we're trying to redo the Beatles. It's just because we like each other. I'm a fan of Zach's work. I'm a fan of James's work, and you know, we're friends. And I work with a lot of people. Yeah. You know, and I'm happy to work on writing songs with them. You know, it's fun. I did put out a song that I co-wrote with James on his last solo record. Yeah. It was called Primrose Hill.
It's really pretty.
And you know, I have no hesitation to work with him. You know, it means a lot to kind of write a song with him because he's, you know, he's my dad's best friend's son, and he's a great songwriter. So there's no reason for me not to do that.
Yeah. What about you and Jules?
Julie and I have spoken about working before. We've had some ideas about it. Honestly, I think it's a lot about geography. Yeah. You know, I mean, Julian and I didn't grow up together, and now he lives in France. Yeah. And I rarely get over there, you know. But we're not against the idea of doing something together. We have a couple ideas that could work out. But you know, honestly, he's busier than I am, that guy. He was, he's a very successful musician, you know, unlike me in a way. He's had #1 singles and stuff, you know, and so he's very busy. When he, you know, he's putting out records. He's got a charity called White Feather Foundation.
And his photographs.
He's got the photography thing. Yeah. You know, he's a super busy guy, and so am I. So it's not like we have a lot of time, but we're not against it. We've thrown around, we've tossed around some ideas before. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be really cool. Just because I know, you know, how much you guys appreciate each other.
Yeah, and look, any of us working together, we do it, well, if it happens or doesn't happen, it's because we felt like it and it was a natural thing to do. Yeah. We're not going to do it because of some expectation or to like fulfill anyone's expectation of what we should do. Yeah. It has to be natural. And the James McCartney song just happened naturally. I was at his house, we wrote a song. Yeah. And Zach and I have been friends, you know, for a while, and he had a tune that he wanted me to work on, and I worked on it. It's pretty simple, you know.
It's just totally organic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What's the children's book?
Basically.
Oh yes, I know. You made it out of the movie, right?
Wars Over the short film. Right. Is not just a film. Yeah. It's a multimedia project. Okay, so we've got a single that has a vinyl kind of zoetrope animation on it. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. And then we also have simultaneously a children's book version of it. Yeah. But the children's book is really cool. Penguin Kids put it out, and it's completely new artwork. Yeah. And it was hand-painted by the guy who did the character design on the film. Oh, nice. So it's sort of a triptych. If you really want to complete the immersive experience, you got to watch the film, you got to have the book, and you need the vinyl. That's the only way to fully understand the breadth of the story. Yeah. Yeah.
Good pitch.
Thanks. Thank you. There's no way you could get it from just watching the film. There's no way. You're only scratching the surface.
You had me sold.
Yeah.